You know how sometimes you look at a house from the outside and you think it's like the most magnificent architecture you've ever seen. And then when you see the inside, it's just like cookie cutter garbage. Well, today we're doing the opposite of that. We actually have very interesting architectural interiors, and the exterior kind of suffers a little bit. And the house in question is called Villa Madalena, which is located in Brazil. It's designed by a group of architects called Arquitetura Gui Matos. So this is exactly what I'm talking about here with Villa Madalena. If you look at this, you honestly think it's just a pile of garbage that was left on the side for the garbage truck to pick up. There's really nothing interesting going on. We have something of interest here, and we have these giant shutters, which, in my opinion, just don't do anything for the architecture in this specific scenario. And then, not to mention that this house is surrounded by just so much crap that it all becomes like an eyesore. So really, I don't know what they could have done to fix this except for maybe a different color palette. But to be honest with you, I don't blame them. I think what it is what it is. What are you going to do? But right off the bat, nothing really to ride home about. Then when we get to the other side, it starts to kind of like open a little bit more. It starts to get a little bit more interesting. We still see that concrete and the giant shutters from the outside, but now we've introduced a new color to the palette, which is not so predominant here. You do see a little bit of it here in the garage, but on the other side, we start to see more of it, and things are starting to get a little bit more interesting. Not the finest choice of exterior tile here. I think I would have done something more to complement the rest of the house. But, you know, it is what it is. Again, it's not something that completely bothers me about this project. And at least it has a pool. I mean, what are you going to do? The way that this facade is presented to us, again, it's surrounded by so much architecture that it distracts away from this. And that's the only thing that bothers me, because I think that this form, you can kind of see it peeking a little bit over here. This kind of form is really interesting. It has this like cantilever corner, and on its own, like, it would be super cool, but surrounded by so much stuff, it kind of like looks like your typical average house. So it would take you a few moments of staring at this to kind of start to understand what is going on. It's not something that just automatically jumps out at you. This is where the house starts to get interesting. It's when you're actually inside of the house. And to be honest with you, this is the kind of architecture that I personally prefer, because a lot of times architects make these cool, really big moves. Like the most recent one that I talked about was the Bjark Ingels towers in New York. They look all right. It's not even the nicest thing, but they're more interesting on the outside than they are on the inside. Like on the inside, it's just some cookie cutter stuff. But when you look at something like this, it's the opposite. The outside is fine, whatever. But then the inside, which is the moments that you're going to be interacting with the most, that's where the architecture really shines. It's a very simple and very natural palette. You have your greens and your browns and your, neutral concrete, which is all very apparent of nature, very natural palette. And then the exterior space looks honestly like something that I would like to spend time at. The cool thing about this is that you have a natural light well. Imagine if this was completely sealed, this space would just feel so dark. But by them opening this up and that becomes a planter, now everything, it just adds so much color. It adds so much more light to the space. It just makes everything, both on the outside and on the inside, completely more enjoyable, just because of that little move of opening it up to the sky. I was going to say something about having some sort of focal point feature here. Like, it would have been super cool to have a waterfall or even some sort of simple installation. But the truth be told is that this is probably a moment where you're walking through. You're never going to sit there and admire this architecture the same way that this photograph is showing. This is only in a photograph, because I think right there you have a corridor. So this is the moment when you're walking by here. So then it's not needed. I think it's perfectly fine the way that it is. Another great thing is that we have these tracks here. And that just signifies that these are sliders, kind of like a nano wall. Not quite, but these sliders open up all the way, it seems, and they collect on this side so that you can now allow some fresh air to go into the space. and it's possible, it's not very clear, but yes, there are some steps there that we don't really see on this side, so you can actually interact with this space. Because from this shot, it really looks like you have all this trees blocking and there's a division, but no, because of these sliders, you're now able to open this and all the space becomes one, and that honestly is like amazing. Here we have another picture that's more of like a formality because it's just showing you the dining table, which does nothing interesting. I guess the focus here is the backdrop, which is again not that great. They put some plants there, no big deal, but you're mostly focusing on the high rise or mid rise that's on the other side. But there's not much to say about this architecturally speaking, except that we also have some operable sliders here, but nothing interesting, really. There's really nothing else that we can say about that. Perhaps maybe that the materiality, goes from exterior to interior. So that's pretty important. But beside that, that's it. Now, this to me is like, it's one of the coolest moments in the whole entire project. This is like the climax of this project. And the reason why is because everything here just works so well together. You have these beams that create this interesting shadow that then is divided further amongst this slatted wall here. And then look at the stamping on this concrete wall. It's just so uneven and just makes it even more perfect. And it is possible, I'm not 100% sure with the way that this house sits on the site, it is possible that this light will, hopefully if this is like east versus west, maybe this wall will receive some of the interesting shading and patterns, light patterns that are coming from these beams up top. But this to me is just completely extravagant. Like walking through this step, getting to where you need to go, it's just amazing. You don't have those weird rails that these projects tend to happen. It's like this one piece that just transforms into these vertical slats and then this solid piece of wood, and then everything just combines together like a puzzle. It's just, so this is good right here. I like this so much. You could tell how much I like it by like the pitch of my voice, how it's getting higher and higher, like if I've just inhaled a little bit of helium. Then this is the next picture. Then we look at this and it's like, nah, again with this thing. They've closed the, I can't even remember. I'm just in shock looking at this, right? But they closed shutters up, and I guess it looks better closed, to be honest with you. It looks more like a project than it did before. Like before, it looked like a some sort of dilapidated structure from PUBG. But because they close this, I guess, you know what? I'll give them the pass. It looks really interesting. Now, here's the other side where they close. I mean, this looks tremendous. Okay, so it's possible that when this was designed, they really focus on these elevations with these elements closed, with these vertical elements. The thin little vertical elements must have looked completely beautiful in elevation. Like this house looks interesting in elevation. The thing is, when you do these elevations, you don't really put these buildings on the side. You tend to have it sitting on its own, right? And you don't really have all this vegetation all the time. And so you get to see more of the facade on each elevation. And so it is interesting. But then when you see it in person and you see, everything that's sitting around it, it kind of loses its luster a little bit. But I will give it to them. This is a good decision here. It not only is it functional, but it also makes the project look way more interesting than it did before. Here we are with it open again from the pool. See what I'm saying? Like, you're in this pool, you're looking at this house, it looks horrible, right? Like, if I'm sitting here in this pool and I'm looking at this house, I feel like I'm in an old building, and not in a good way, not like a historical building, just like an old building. I really do think if they would have focused a little bit more on the flooring, I honestly do think that, like, if they would have focused a little bit more on the flooring and then maybe done something with the light well over here. Well, it is overcast, but I just think it would have made this pop a little bit more. It needs something, can't quite put my finger on it at first glance. More of this shot, now you're seeing that little peak of the stair, which is incredible. And now we're starting to see this inner courtyard like revealed a little bit better. So there's some window there, which is interesting because I wonder what they're looking at on the other side. And we'll move forward. I'm not going to go back right now. It's not completely apparent where in the house this is. Another H word. Where in the house this is, not sure. I really cannot tell. Probably on, I don't know if this house has like a satellite portion of the building. But anyway, you see this functions so much better than like the front of the house did. But it's also a much more simpler, composition than the front of the house. There's less going on, so everything feels more special. And then we have an alleyway, which they decided to include in the photographs. Is there anything interesting here? Just some punch out windows, but this facade, this section of this dividing wall here, has the same vertical elements. There's a lot of verticality in this project, with this long, slender elements, and that's another a cool thing. Like the concept of the motifs in this project is verticality, whether it's horizontal or whether it's on the facades where they're vertical, the way that they are with the slats. Everything is all about verticality. You have these long linear elements, and you see it in the stairs on the side. You see it here in this looks like a window of some sort. You see it on the wood. You see it everywhere. I mean, and this shot right now doesn't look that great just because of where the sun is at. But do you just imagine like that sun beaming through right here, just lighting up this space? Tremendous. Now, the inside of the house, I think, has too much of the wood. I appreciate, bringing in the wooden slats from the exterior over here to the interior, this paneling here. But then you have the solid piece that doesn't really have any texture to it. It kind of looks a little unfinished. I think they could have done better with this. Like, I enjoy it on the stair. It works on the stair because the form of the stair actually creates, you don't need a texture because the way that the light hits it, and it's this interesting angled object in the space, that is fine like that. But then you have these two cubes here that just blend into the roof incorrectly. And I'm not saying that this should have been followed down. I think there should have been some contrast, but the way that this is working right now, it's like it's doing that effect where like the roof plane, or the ceiling plane rather, turns into this wall, but it's just not working right here. There's just no continuity. But the space is fine. The light quality is fine. It's an interesting, not super crazy interesting, but it's a nice space to be in. I think the furniture could have been done a little bit differently, but perhaps that was the decision of the client. Like on this shot, this doesn't bother me here, but on this shot it does. So that's the importance of working on every part of the house, both in elevation, both in section, and even doing renderings as often as possible. Because when you experience this like this, there's a good contrast between the roof and this, but then when you put everything together, it's like too much of it. It's too much of this going on. This is a spot right below the staircase. So as you can see, the pool's over here. That's where that last shot that we looked at was. And then we have like a little book corner, like a nook for reading your Kindle or your books. And here we have that same shot from the other side, with these magnificent stairs. Would have been a cool opportunity to have maybe a small shelf or something. But here we have a really interesting wall. I don't remember what that material is called. It's what is it? I don't remember. Poly something, I think. Polycarbonate? Is it polycarbonate? I think that's polycarbonate. I think that's what that's called. But I definitely want to see more of what's happening here. Like what's going on here, and I wonder if that material is used anywhere else. Here's a shot of the outside. I mean, it photographs tremendously, but nothing much that we haven't covered. You have a hidden compartment, probably a bathroom or a pantry. If it's a bathroom, that's a tremendous spot for one. I think it's a great spot to put one. There, that's exactly what I wanted to see. Okay, look at this. This is phenomenal. I'm pretty sure it's polycarbonate. Let me look that up. Yeah, I nailed it. I Googled it and it was polycarbonate. So interesting thing about this is that it gives you privacy because it's not transparent. It's just translucent. It diffuses the light in a super interesting way, and it creates such a nice backdrop. I just don't understand why it was used in this portion of the house. I'm not mad at it. I'm more like curious as to what was the point of it if everything else in the space is so open. See, that's right behind here. So like everything is so open. Why do you need that? It is possible that maybe at certain moments throughout the day you have, and you can actually tell by the shadows. That's exactly what it is. The way that the shadow's sitting here, perhaps you have some harsh lighting. If I'm reading this correctly, I like I said, I haven't really studied this too much, but something that I'm happy about, it's pointing out to me that this is situated, this house, this is like the south or the north, which means that the stairs are east west. So what I was talking about, as the sun goes around here, you're gonna have some nice light patterns. So I just wanted to point that out. I think that's how it works, just because of the way that the shadow's sitting on the floor here. But going back to this, I think that's exactly what happened. They had some light that was penetrating through here. They understood that was going to happen. And so in order to avoid some harsh light, they wanted this person to be able to read. That light is now diffused. It's not as harsh. And you have such a beautiful, interesting material behind you. It could have been more of that shade, more of the why am I having such trouble with that word? The freaking the blinders. Can't remember the shutters, right? These shutters. We could have had shutters here that are operable, but realistically, like you're not going to be operating them every time you're going to sit here to read. So if this is the reason why they chose this material here, then the phenomenal decision. And see what I'm talking about. You get some privacy. Don't understand the privacy point, but maybe that wasn't the focal. That was just kind of like an added bonus. Now here's a cool moment, because here you have like this cute angle. And moments like this in architecture suck. They make the facade look interesting a lot of times. You know, the envelope of the building, it's like you get bonus points, but then you get hit on the interior moments, right? Because if you have this, people usually stick like a closet in that corner or something if this was on the inside. But here they just made it into a walkway, an exterior balcony. So it's a good way to kind of deal with that, because it doesn't affect the interior spaces. And so it's okay if you have a little bit of a dead moment there, because anyway, this is mostly functional, not to sit there in that random spot. You can sit here if you wanted to, but it's letting a lot of light in. So this is an interesting way to deal with this. And the composition of the space is really cool. You see what I'm talking about? Like these vertical elements, the shutters that I finally understood how to say, they look so cool from this spot. From the outside, no good. Don't like it. From the inside, awesome. Looks really cool, functional, goes with everything. Amazing. A plus. Ah, that's what I was hoping. I was hoping that we would have this material pop up somewhere else, and here it is. Don't know where it's at exactly, but I'm happy to say that this looks magnificent. Here we have the same materials that we've been using everywhere else, but now they're combined in a completely unique way. We now have that light source, but we have privacy. Is this a primary bedroom? It is possible, and that's why you have this privacy, but you also have the light source, so you don't have to have like a track with some blackout shades or anything. You have just the architecture and the light, and it's phenomenal. They decided to include this shot. Maybe the photographer's nephew was the guy that put this corner together or something. I don't know. It's not really doing much for me, to be honest with you, but I'll take it. And then I see this and I'm like, what happened? What happened to all that other stuff? I mean, this is cool. It's nice. Looks like a secondary kitchen, or looks like something for back of house. But why? Like, what happened to all the bold stuff that was happening in the other pictures? You know, I don't even feel like talking about this. Yeah, you could see that the dining room is somewhere over here, and they just put this like IKEA kitchen. You have all this architecture and then IKEA. I don't get it. Why? But I mean, this is phenomenal. I love this so much. And then, so here's a really interesting thing. There's nothing on this wall here. What is on this wall? Is this probably the primary bedroom? And then I don't know. I don't know what any of this is. And I'm excited to look at the plans, but I'm a little bummed out that you're staring at a plain wall here. Would it have been nice to have something like this happen here somehow? Why? I don't like that too much, but I guess we have to continue looking for clues. So, okay, it's like a little studio, a little office that's sitting inside here, and they're staring at the wall. I guess I'll be honest with you, if I'm working all day and that's what I'm staring at all day, that would kind of get a little boring, even though you do have a little bit of the sky, but that would make me not want to work. That'd make me want to go outside and get some fresh air and sit by the pool. So I'm not too happy about that, to be honest with you. Yeah, chair on the corner, that's fine. Okay, cool. Nothing crazy. More of the stuff from the kitchen. What's going on here? This is cool. I like that, but I'm not a big fan of these bathrooms. I mean, like on their own, they're fine. All this is fine. I have nothing against any of this, but what happened to the architecture, you know? And look at these plans, man. This plan looks amazing. Check that out. It looks like a an architecture student's project. And I mean that in a good way, because in architecture school you're doing all these cool projects that are never going to get built. And so this looks like someone that designed a really cool shape like that, and it seems to be working really well. And it looks, it just looks awesome. The plan looks awesome. Now let's dive a little. These plans are so tiny, but let's just see if I can figure anything out about it. So here we have la planta baja. So we have the ground level, or I'm a little confused. Okay, so this is like the basement, ground, and then first level. All right, yeah. So this is the basement. Then we have ground level, and then we have the first floor, which would be like the second floor, but they call it primero. I don't know. I'm here pretending to understand Portuguese. All right, so I've zoomed into it as much as I can, but it just looks so blurry. They don't have any names for anything, but you'll see that dead corner that I was talking about. This is like a gym space. Fine, they have a gym, but it's just like a weird gym. Like, I don't even think most of this is usable at all. You have most of it is corridor. I'm getting kind of bummed out looking at this plan, so I'm just gonna skip it for now. Anyway, it's not like we looked at the basement in any of the pictures, so I don't even know what's going on there. It looks like there's some cool stuff in there, but I just have no idea. All right, so this is at ground level. Here's that street shot where we look at where we have the garage, and then on the other side is the pool. And then yeah, it looks like that's a bathroom, or I can't. No, I can't tell what it is. I definitely see a sink there, but then on the other side, is that a water fountain? Dude, I cannot tell. So there's definitely your toilet over here, and then over here it's like a sink, but then you have another sink over here, or a water fountain of some sort. I don't understand why there's so many sinks in this project. Yeah, the plan is fine. The garage here eats that weird corner, so that's fine. And then you have something here which I can't fully tell what it is. It looks like a guest room of some sort. This is open to above. No, not a guest room. Probably like just closet, washer dryer maybe. Man, these plans are bumming me out. All right, I at least want to see if I can find that one corridor with the polycarbonate. Probably was in the basement. I don't know. I unfortunately cannot read anything in those plans. Let me try the section at least. And this bummed me out. This bummed me out so much looking at all these plans. Like, this is really cool. This is really cool, but just the tiny like blurry images, they really drive me nuts. But nothing here. Like, we're not learning anything from this project except for you have a really cool concrete structure that's being hidden by the wood paneling that we saw. I don't know how I feel about that, but it's fine. Whatever. It would have been cool to expose some of it, but like they do here on the top floor. Yeah, this is bumming me out. I don't want to look at this anymore. I guess, okay, we'll just look at this and then we'll read what the architect had to say about this project. This is such a cool, like, 3D diagram of the house. So it looks like, is this accessible up here? Probably some HVAC or something. I don't know. Really cool form. This would make for such a badass model, to be honest with you. Like, if they made this out of basswood, just with the contours here and everything, this would look like so incredible. This is a really cool project on the exterior. When you look at it like this, when you look at it surrounded by all the buildings that it has, it starts to get a little diluted, but at least the interiors are beautiful. I love this project so much. So unfortunately, the text didn't provide anything that I considered of use, but I'll read some of the stuff that they mentioned just to see if maybe you guys get some positive out of it. So first it says that when exploring its interior, the wood reveals itself, adorning walls and ceilings. The ceiling occasionally shines with light from pergolas or skylights in the space. In the space of the lot, the house unfolds base, living room, balcony, and rest areas. Then in another section, it says, as if playing with the rigidity of concrete and the test of a very integrated social area, one of the side facades descends diagonally towards the floor, an attempt at a delicate gesture, which actually hides a foundation with very specific characteristics required for supporting the load from the upper floor. I think they're referring to this portion here. I could be wrong, but I think they're referring to that. It's like they call it a delicate gesture, but it's actually functional. That's cool. I'll bite. Then it says designed for a young family, it surprises in size, taking advantage of the slope of the structure. 3 levels of use: social and service area on the access level, office, gym, and playroom on the lower level, and finally bedrooms on the first floor, offering treetop views and privacy. So, really cool project, man. I love the interior spaces. As I mentioned, there's some work to be done on the exterior. Unfortunately, that's probably because of its surrounding the context. Some work could have been done on the interior, but overall, I love this project so much. I would love to have a home like this. And I'm curious to see what you guys thought. Do you guys like this kind of architecture? Do you hate it? Let me know down in the comments and we will talk about it. Till next time, peace out.